Alright, before we jump into today's video, I want to bring attention to an online event that will be hosted by the Church of Thessaly. This will be on November 22nd and 23rd. The Church of Thessaly will be celebrating the goddess Hecate. For this event, there will be different presentations, which I'll be doing my own presentation. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I will share with you what I will be presenting on. You can pre-order tickets to the event at churchofthessaly.com or check the description below for the link. But now we're going to move on to chapter 4 of On the Gods in the World. I know I've covered some of this in another video, but I'm going to revisit it here as part of this video series. So in the last video, we explained that the myths are not meant to be taken as literal fact, and this chapter helps explain the different types of myths and how they can be interpreted. There is obviously no way to interpret all myths inside one video, but I hope this gives a better understanding for you on your journey. But as we continue, let me know what you think in the comments below, and now let's get into it. Now, we have all heard of the numerous myths of Zeus and his adulteries. The legendary jealousy of Hera are the incredible feats of Heracles. But as we've discussed in the previous video, there are more to the myths than what's given at face value. Sallustius categorizes the myths as theological, physical, animistic, material, and mixed. Like I've stated before, the myths conceal truth in plain sight and require interpretation to understand them. It is through this interpretation that we engage the myths on an intellectual level as we discern their meanings. Throughout time, the myths have been employed by poets, philosophers, and those who have been inspired and guided by the gods. Even the oracles of the gods have utilized the myths when giving responses. So I will do my best to give an analysis of the different types of myths and examples as we continue. It is important to recognize that the myths imitate the gods in their different aspects. The gods, through the myths, declare their existence to all of mankind, but they bestow goodness to the wise through the intelligible realms. The gods reveal their true nature to the wise, or those who are capable of, or have, obtained some form of higher knowledge. This is why it is important to seek the truths hidden within the myths. So let's first look at theological myths. These are myths that speculate at the nature of the gods themselves and of their essences. These myths help to explain the essence of the gods, the roles they play within the universe, and how they interact with others and within humanity. This can be seen through the myth of Kronos. We've all heard that Kronos, out of fear that one of his children would overthrow him, devoured his children at the time of their birth. This is symbolic of the cyclical nature of an intellectual god. It is suggested through this myth that every intellect or divine power is at some point connected. Now, when we look at myths that pertain to the physical world, we can again look at the myth of Kronos, however this time as the aspect of time. The act of Kronos devouring his children now takes on a completely different meaning and is symbolic of the cyclical nature of time, where each moment is consumed by the next. Just as time eventually consumes us all, it shows the never-ending cycle of renewal within time, which becomes more apparent to us when we look at the cycles more prominently evident in our own world. Now, the animistic myths are myths that pertain to the energies of the soul, and that inherent divine connection to the source of all creation. This is probably my favorite type of myth, which can be seen in the stories of Heracles, particularly the trials of Heracles. Now, I'm not going to get into this here because I'm currently working on a presentation detailing the trials of Heracles, which I will give more details on at the end of this video. Then we come to the material myths. These myths have been employed by attributing the divine to physical elements of the material world. This was more common among the Egyptians, due to them viewing earth, humidity, and heat as specific divinities. Sallustius tells us that wise men may contribute these elements to the gods, however, it is the folly of madmen to label them as gods themselves. All right, now we come to the mixed myths. These myths blend elements from the various types of myths together. The myths blend the others to create narratives that explore more complex themes and relationships between the divine and mortals. If we explore the golden apple of discord, when it was thrown into the banquet of the gods, we can find mixed elements. The golden apple is symbolic of the world itself, and as it is tossed into the banquet of the gods, it introduces conflict. The dispute among Athena, Hera, and Aphrodite over the possession of the golden apple is symbolic of the gods contending for influence. When Paris is given the task of choosing the fairest goddess who is most deserving of the golden apple, he chooses Aphrodite, who had made the promise of delivering to him the most beautiful woman in the world, who we all know was Helen of Troy. Paris represents a soul living in accord to desire rather than higher wisdom or divine knowledge. Now we all know how this story ends, and shows the consequences of mortal actions when influenced by selfish desires. All right, that concludes my explanation of Chapter 4, and I hope you gained something from it. In the next chapter, Chapter 5, we will discuss the One, Toina, the source of all creation, and I hope you'll stick around for that. That's probably one of my favorite chapters in this work. And now, for those who want to know, for the event hosted by the Church of Thessaly, I will be doing my presentation on the trials of Heracles and how they are a detailed map for spiritual enlightenment. There will be other speakers and other presentations taking place for the event, and as this becomes known, I will share that with y'all here. So until next time, Salate.